Greetings. I'm going to be doing something a little different today. As I've said before, I had an English teacher that during Halloween she would take a break, set the mood, and read The Raven. So I personally want to do a little reading segment of my own. Today I'm going to be reading a short story out of the book Season of the Witch by Jonathan Rand, but it's really under the name Christopher Knight. Now, if you want to know more about this book, I created an episode of Shining the Light about it, and you can check out that video and get all an in-depth synopsis about this. Now, I'm going to be reading what I picked was the number one out of the 6 stories out of here, and instead of explaining the story, I was going to read it instead. And the name of this story is called A Cry for Help. Patricia's shift began at midnight. She would man the phone for 8 hours, just like she did the night before, and the night before that. There were several others that worked the night shift at 911 emergency dispatch, but for the most part, things were pretty quiet in such a small town. They might receive 1 or 2 serious calls, but the rest were pretty much of the run-of-the-mill car or deer accidents, someone trying to locate such and such a street in one of the many small towns that dotted the northern region of Michigan's Lower Peninsula, or someone who had accidentally speed dialed the number from their cell phones. Occasionally, a drunk call to order pizza. She had learned that, as an operator, she was responsible for not only for assisting in emergencies, dispatching the proper authorities, and the like, but pinch hitting as a part-time mom and moonlighting as a psychologist. Some people just needed someone to talk to let them know that everything was going to be fine. They just needed someone to hear them, someone who would listen and sympathize. Jesus loves you and all that. Patricia had just finished her first cup of coffee when the call came through. 911, her voice was professional, matter of fact. You've got to help, a male voice cracked. It was the sound of desperation, the sound of hopelessness. Patricia heard a sniffle. I'll do what I can. What is your name, sir? I just killed my best friend. Sobs. Okay, thought Patricia. Here we go. It wasn't often that a call such as this came through. Okay, sir. May I have your name, please? Andrew. Andrew Baxter. Your address, Mr. Baxter? My what? More sobs. Your address, Mr. Baxter. My address? Yes. It's 434 Blossom Lane. Thank you. Now what happened, Andrew? Her voice was pleasant, but concerned. The caller was distraught, and she needed to connect with him quickly. He told her that he'd killed someone. Perhaps he hadn't. Perhaps the victim was still alive. She needed more information, but her fingers were already tapping the computer keyboard, sending a note to Central Dispatch. I just couldn't take it anymore, Mr. Baxter said. I mean, we've known each other for years, worked together, but things changed and we started fighting. Mr. Baxter, you said you killed him? That's right, He choked back another sob and didn't finish his sentence. Mr. Baxter, I killed him, he finished. He let out a loud wail, then weeping uncontrollably. Patricia used the brief moment to finish her note to Central Dispatch, who would in turn send out a car and an ambulance. Mr. Baxter, it's okay. You need to talk to me. Can you explain what happened? What happened? I killed him! And he was my best friend. He was my best friend, but he just kept getting worse and worse. Mr. Baxter, everything's going to be okay. Now, what do you mean, worse and worse? You know, he replied in frustrated exasperation. We just got into arguments, a lot of arguments, but lately it seemed that was all we did, fight. We fought about everything. Most likely he just keeps trying to run my life. I did everything for him too. The picture was getting clearer. This was obviously some type of spat between 2 gay men. For whatever reason, Andrew Baxter had killed his partner. Mr. Baxter, has anyone in the home been drinking? Huh? Alcohol. Oh, no, we don't drink. No drugs either. So don't bother asking. Good, Patricia thought. One or the other or both usually made the situations worse than they already are. Is anyone else in the house? No, it's just him and me. Now it's just me. Do you live together? Patricia asked. Yes, for years. And it was great at first. We got along great. Mr. Baxter, maybe your friend isn't dead. Maybe you could help him. Baxter choked out a sob. No, it's too late for that. How do you know? Because I slammed his head against the kitchen table, he shrieked. I grabbed the side of his head and smashed. I couldn't stop. I didn't stop until his skull was splintered. I heard it crack, you know. Patricia winced. How long ago was that? I don't know. An hour, maybe. Is he there now, in the home? Yes. Mr. Baxter, can you see if he's still breathing? No, he's not. Can you check, please? It's very important. Do you know how to check for a pulse? Any information she could provide to the medical response team could help. Yes. Could you do that, Mr. Baxter? I'll right here. Oh, okay. Patricia heard shuffling on the other end. Got a real live one here, she said quietly to Ben Mulford, the night supervisor. Mulford nodded, immersed in a call of his own that was certainly much less distressing than the call Patricia had taken. There was a noise on the other end. Baxter's voice cracked. No, he's not breathing. No heartbeat. He's dead, and I did it. Okay, Mr. Baxter, she replied, as smoothly as she could, slipping into her mother mode. Help is on the way. Someone will be there to help you in a few minutes. The police will be there soon. Will you let him in? Yes, he replied. I'm in a lot of trouble, aren't I? The important thing, Mr. Baxter, is to get you the help that you need. There was a pause, then a sniffle on the other end of the line. He deserved it, you know. Here was a twist. Baxter had all along expressed remorse for what he'd done, but now he's insinuating that the death of his friend was justifiable? How so? Patricia replied. He's a manipulator. Always has been, but now... He let out a sob, but immediately choked it back. He just got so damn greedy. Mr. Baxter, he's greedy, and mean. He was the one getting all the attention. Him. It was me who started everything. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't even have a job, and he pays me back trying to be the star. He became a hog, a greedy attention hog. What do you mean by attention? Patricia asked, wondering how long it would take for the police to arrive. Baxter has lost it. And if he was capable of doing something like killing his partner, he was certainly capable of hurting someone else. Or himself, for that matter. At least he had the sense to call 911, Patricia thought. You know, we worked together. We got along for great years. Now it's over, and I'm glad. I really am. Oh, I know it's wrong to do what I did, but I'm free now. I'm free from his domineering attitude and ordering me around. Do this, Andy, and do that. He wanted me to do the things, and I just couldn't do it. It was maddening. Okay, Patricia thought. We won't go there. Okay, Mr. Baxter, it's all right. Tell me, are the police there yet? I don't see them. Okay, just take it easy. They'll be there soon to help you. Am I going to jail? Baxter asked meekly. Well, if you bash the skull of your friend, that's usually what happens, Baxter buddy, Patricia thought. But of course, that wasn't what she said. The important thing right now is that we want to help you, Mr. Baxter. Will you let us help you? Yes, Baxter squeaked. That was good. At least Baxter didn't appear be confrontational when the police arrive. Okay, Patricia said. They'll be there any minute. Baxter let out a deep sigh. It's over, I guess. We sure had our 15 minutes of fame. Mr. Baxter? You know, our time at the top. Andy Warhol said that we all get 15 minutes of fame. Or is it seconds? I don't know. We were the best, you know. His voice gloated with the glory of days gone by. People laughed and laughed. They loved us. It was supposed to be an act, you know. Just an act. What do you mean, act? Is that what you did? You're an actor? Yeah, well, no, kinda, sort of. What is it you do? Ventriloquism. Your event. A breeze of realization came over her as the man interrupted. It was an act! He screamed. That's all it was, and that's all it ever was. Anger steamed into his voice. But he took it so serious. Some of the things that he said was just plain mean, hurtful. He was just a dummy to begin with, and now that's all he is, a dead dummy. Hello, Patricia said quietly, covering up the mouthpiece so the caller wouldn't hear. She waved to Ben. She mouthed the words, pick up, to him, but he nodded and pressed a button, and that allowed Patricia's conversation to be heard through his earpiece. This guy has lost it, she thought. Baxter's insane. She looked at Ben, shook her head slowly, and twirled her index finger around the ear. Ben nodded. Mr. Baxter, I'm hearing you correctly. You are a ventriloquist, and you... Yes, Baxter said, interrupting. I killed him. His head splintered like a board. I know. I heard it. Cracked just like a big hunk of wood. Patricia raised her eyebrows and glanced at Ben. Ben shook his head, removed his earpiece, and then stood up. He looked at Patricia, raised his invisible coffee mug to his lips. Patricia responded with several quick nods. Okay, Mr. Baxter, if you... They're here, I think, Baxter interrupted. There was a brief moment of silence, and then Patricia could hear knocking. Thank God, she thought. This Looney Tune is going to get locked up in Portsmouth for a long time. Portsmouth Wellness Facility was an old sanitarium in Michigan's Upper Peninsula that now served as a half-prison, half-psychiatric ward. It would have been the focus of a lot of media attention, being that it housed one of the most notorious killers in recent memory. Patricia presumed that they'd have a place ready and waiting for Andrew Baxter. I've got to go now, he said. Take care, Mr. Baxter. There was a click on the line. Baxter hung up. Michigan State Troopers Alan Fedoruk and his partner were the first to arrive at the small apartment. At first, he had been informed that they would be investigating a possible homicide. But the last transmission from dispatch moments ago now said that it was possibly a false alarm. They were required to investigate regardless. He knocked again. Moments before he had heard a voice behind the door, but now there was nothing. Mr. Baxter, he said, knocking again. Police! Mr. Baxter, open the door, please. Several silent moments went by. Fedoruk tried the knob. It turned in his hand and the door swung open. Mr. Baxter? He remained just outside the door, peering in. Nothing moved. However, from where he stood, he could see a smear of blood on the wall near the kitchen, and splotches of blood on the carpet. He removed his gun and he silently altered his partner, who withdrew his own firearm. Mr. Baxter! His voice was strong and commanding. There was no answer. Slowly, ever so slowly, he pushed the door open. His gun was ready, and he slowly swept it across the room, prepared for whatever would come. Suddenly he stopped. The door continued to swing open, slowly, like the curtain at a movie theater. What in the hell? He lowered his gun and stared. On the couch was a ventriloquist dummy, staring blankly back at the two troopers. A telephone receiver sat on his lap, beeping that insane rapid beep 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 when it's been left on the hook too long. Now, how creepy is that story? When I read that at the campground, it kind of got to me. It was nice to see this unfolding and folding of the story of who the hell is going on with this phone call. It's already a creepy concept of a 911 operator and hearing the kind of call she takes. But something like that where it kind of unfolds in a ventriloquist and you realize, this dude is nuts. He killed a dummy and he's now calling the police. And the reveal that it's actually a dummy that called and that he actually killed the partner makes you kind of want to reread it. It's one of the, it simplifies and defines what a short horror story is. Yes, I personally liked the writing and the originality of Missed Appointment, but this defined what a short horror story should be. It was only about 5 pages long. It left you on your toes, and it had a nice plot twist, and it was just enough to keep you interested with a unique concept. And what I mean by a perfect horror short story is that this could probably only work in an anthology movie or TV show. This is not something that I can see someone dragging a full-length movie out of. It's nice, short, sweet, and spooky. So that is all that I wanted to do. Hopefully you're still watching, and if you really enjoyed it, feel free to like it. And if you really enjoyed it, if you want to see more of these, comment below some horror short stories that you might want to hear read, because I actually enjoy doing this, and there's plenty of other really good ones like these that I've read before. If you want to see horror movies, I have Austin Shrunken Theater, where I watch full-length horror films and do commentary. If you don't want to watch the full movie, we have highlights of those. Or if you want to know hidden gems of horror movies, I have plenty of Shining Light episodes going over some nice horror films that might be a little under the radar. Or if you like horror games, Resident Evil 5. I have my best friends that play the Resident Evil 5, and they're really hilarious if you haven't checked that out. It's called the Egg Wars. So that is really funny, and I hope you're not missing out on that, because it's one of the funniest things ever that I've seen, with them making fun of the whole Resident Evil series. And just like that, I hope you guys have a nice, happy Halloween.